Yeah, welcome back, Bhayahari Prabhuji. We are able to do the streaming now.
Good. Okay. Thank you so much for joining. Hare Krishna. And wanted to wish all of you happy Gita Jayanti. I think it's auspicious and fortunate that we have also our Bhakti Shastri class on Bhagavad Gita on this day. So happy to be with and all of you devotees doing Krishna Katha on Bhagavad Gita. So we'll start with the Mangalacharan, and after that we will resume the presentations. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukham karoti vachanam pangam langyate gire yatkripatama vande Shri Gurudintanam Namaum Vishwavadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunavadi Paschachade Shatarne. Shri Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai.
Over to you, Rupa Raghunath Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. I think today we are doing the 3 group presentations on chapter 12. So I see group 1 already sharing their screens. So please go ahead. Let's get started. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So we are going to present about the Bhagavad Gita verses, 12th chapter, 1st until 7. The topic is Bhakti is superior to impersonalism. So the context here is like a devotee and a senior guide will be discussing to have a deep dive in discussion about these verses. Can you all see my screen? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Please start. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. The devotee. I have heard from the sages that, that the devotion is the highest path to salvation. Tell me, which is the better, worshipping the formless, unmanifested Brahman or serving Krishna as the personal form of the divine?
Yeah, from Bhagavad Gita chapter 12, Krishna confirms that the worship of the formless transcendent Brahman, unmanifested reality, is subtle and difficult for most beings, and they are on the path of the abstract. But those who take this path must overcome great challenges.
I see. If the formless path is difficult, then is it easier to worship him in his personal form?
Yes, that's correct. In fact, that is a noble path. Worshipping him as a personal deity involves faith and devotion, and it is often considered simpler and more accessible. Those who approach Krishna in this way have a more direct path to reach the ultimate truth, as they can express their love and devotion in a more tangible way.
Can we discuss about the nature of the person who is truly devoted and dear to him and the qualities they possess?
Yes, as stated in Bhagavad Gita verse 12.3, a devotee who is free from envy, who has a peaceful and serene mind, and who treats all beings with compassion is dearest to Krishna. The one who is detached from desires and acts selflessly with a sense of unity and equanimity in success and failure is close to his heart. Such a person sees the divine in every being and is unwavering in their devotion.
Can we cultivate such a qualities, and how do I know that I am on the right path?
Of course, yes. practice and mindfulness are the key. As Srila Prabhupada explains, be patient and persistent in nurturing the qualities of humility, patience, kindness, and contentment. A devotee should strive to maintain a steadily mind without being swayed by the dualities of joy and sorrow, gain and loss, or pleasure and pain. Through such dedication, the mind becomes clear and the soul realizes its true nature.
Yeah, these are the difficult qualities to maintain. Is the hard to be detached and calm.
It is true, my dear friend. Maintaining such qualities is very challenging. But it is through practice and self-discipline that a devotee becomes steady. From Bhagavad Gita verses 12.6 and 7, we can see what qualities make a devotee even more dear to the Lord. In 12.6 and 7, Krishna explains to Arjuna that a person who's steady, whose desires are minimal, who remains calm in the face of ups and downs of life, and who's free from malice, who loves all being as if they were their own, and no distinction between friends and foes. This person is dearest to me. They are filled with love and humanity, always mindful of the divine presence in all their aspects of life. So here is a difference between meditating on him and meditating on impersonal. As the word indicates, impersonal cannot be of any reciprocation. For example, if a person is climbing through a rope and a rope is tied to some impersonal thing, he must put all effort in coming out of pulling himself up. But if the rope is in the hands of a person, then that person also helps him to come up. He will also pull, and we can also try from our side. If at all we are not able to try from our side because we might be weak, but when we have a desire to come out, then that person can still help us pulling us. That is a difference between impersonal and personal aspect. Like that, Krishna says, Aham Samudharta. I become the swift deliverer. And he is highlighting that this process is easier because I intervene personally in favor of my devotees. So here, Krishna personally interferes and he swiftly delivers who surrenders to him.
Thank you so much. Now I understand. That is the only easier way to worship him in his personal form. It is also the best. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, well timed, well presented. I like the analogy to explain also. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, group 2.
Rupa Raghunath Prabhu, can you please share the slide? Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Let me share my screen. Do you see it, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. Hare Krishna devotees, this is a group 2 presenting on Bhagavad Gita chapter 12, verse 8 to 12. And our title is Progressive Stages of Bhakti. Next slide, please. So verse 8 to 12 talks about the yoga ladder, and which shows the different stages of advancement in a spiritual path. Next slide. So verse 8 talks about Shuddha Bhakti. It's also called Ananya Bhakti or pure devotional service. In this practice, or in this stage, devotee has the mind and intelligence completely surrendered onto the personal form of Krishna, the Tribhanga Lalit, the Syam Sundar form. And here devotees perform direct service, the 9 processes of the Navada Bhakti to Krishna with pure love. And pure devotees are not attracted towards the Krishna's impersonal form, his Brahman feature, or even his localized Paramatma feature. Next slide, please. So now lesser than the Ananya Bhakti is the Vaidhi Bhakti, where the devotees tries to develop the love for Krishna by following the scriptures and through scripture regulated the devotional practice. And here devotees try to surrender to Krishna their mind and intelligence by performing service to Krishna. Just like the Ananya Bhakti, devotees here also practice the direct service to Krishna, but they don't have the pure love like the Ananya Bhaktas, and they are trying to cultivate that pure love. Now, sadhana bhakti does not provide Krishna prem, but it leads to Shuddha Bhakti with sincere practice. And Shuddha Bhakti provides Krishna prem. So sadhana bhakti and Shuddha Bhakti can be compared as a mango, raw mango, and a ripe mango. Essentially both are mangoes, but it's just the same raw mango that matures into a ripe mango. Next slide, please. When a devotee cannot surrender to Krishna through scriptures or through develop that spontaneous love, then acting on activities performed in Krishna consciousness or karma yoga or karma pradhan bhakti is recommended. And here devotees, they do not like really want to completely surrender their mind and intelligence to Krishna, but they don't practice, they may not practice the Navada bhakti, but they still have some sort of attraction for Krishna. And so they want to do practical work for Krishna, like building temples, sponsoring prasad, or providing donations. Again, like sadhana bhakti, karma pradhan bhakti also does not provide Krishna prem, but it leads to sadhana bhakti, and which leads to Shuddha Bhakti. And Shuddha Bhakti is the only platform where we get Krishna prem. Next slide, please. Now, Krishna in the yoga ladder, verse 11 falls in the fifth stage, but when Krishna is imparting this knowledge to Arjuna, it is because in the 10th verse he talked about the activities, so in the 11th verse he is continuing with the activities. Now, niskama karma, it's not yoga, it's still in the material plane. So here Krishna recommends anybody who cannot completely surrender to him or does not have attraction to him to at least give up the results of their work and power of selfless service. And since this is not a bhakti, Krishna does not provide complete assurances to these jivas. However, they are still eligible to get mercy of devotees, because the devotee's mercy is unconditional, and eventually they can come to the path of bhakti, where Krishna then provides full assurance. Next slide, please. Now, verse 12, this is the fourth stage of the yoga ladder. And here also it's an indirect path to God realization through Ashtanga yoga and through Jnana yoga. The first step is renouncing the fruits of the activities, and then better than that is knowledge, and through meditation, which leads to the Paramatma realization and ultimately understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Last slide, please. So verse 8 to 12 provides direct and indirect pathways for spiritual perfection, Shuddha Krishna Bhakti. And one who is in the direct pathways, Bhakti, that is spiritual perfection, is guaranteed by Krishna. And it is also the shortest, easiest, and most blissful process. Thank you, Haribol.
Thank you, Prabhu. Well presented. Thank you.
Okay, over to group 3.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, Prabhu.
So we are from group 3. Qualities that endear one to Krishna.
Haribol, everybody. So our plot is that there are 3 devotees at the Sunday Feast Prasadam. They're talking about the lecture discourse given prior to the feast on chapter 12, and they're comparing themselves with the qualities and seeing if they have these qualities and if others in the congregation have the qualities. And they're boasting about each other's good and bad qualities and criticizing some others. And then a senior devotee intervenes and guides them in the right process.
Nice person. Nice prasadam, isn't it?
Yes, yes, it's a nice feast.
Sunday feast is the best.
Yes, but did someone notice the lecture was so good, especially the part where Krishna mentions the qualities he likes in a person?
Sure, let's see who remembers the qualities and who has them among us.
Yes, yes, that way it'll become a preparation for Bhakti Shastri.
Let's see. My qualities. I'm always true to my nature without any false ego. I'm not happy or distressed in the situations. I'm not envious towards anyone. I'm friendly to everyone, but unfortunately, I'm attached to my residence. And as you know, we were as you know me well, you know I generally do not remain silent. I do not remain silent in talking about non-Krishna topics, and I am not always satisfied. If I can progress in these, Krishna would be more pleased. I can hope to progress in that and follow in the footsteps of Jadabharata, who is such a good example of these qualities. He is he thought of the ants while he was carrying Maharaj Rahugana, uh, so friendly to others, and did not get angry, and was friendly to the king when friendly to the king when criticized.
Wait. I also possess many good qualities like determination, self controlled, and tolerant.
Oh yeah, sure. You have these qualities. Look at how determined. Sorry, my bad. So look at how determined and self-controlled Dhruva was in his meditation on Vishnu. What happened to your great tolerance when you had to wait for prasadam in the line?
Uh, well, at times the tolerance comes.
Do you remember that Krishna also said one should be balanced between distress and fear, anxiety and happiness? I think we all possess these qualities, but only a little, don't we? Uh, Only a little, don't you think? Look at Sudhama Brahman, who was so equipoised and tolerant when he was facing poverty and bodily distress. He only thought of Krishna always and wasn't overly anxious about maintaining his body.
Yes, we
Yes,
should try to have these
we
qualities.
should all try to understand these qualities. We are always clean. We don't feel the pain. We don't strive for material pleasures. Ready to take all kinds of risk for Krishna's pleasures.
Oh, really? Are you sure you are like this? What happened to all these qualities we supposedly possess at the time of the book distribution? Even even the last even the last week when we had to deal with long hours and the challenging personalities we met, I felt some pain then.
Many of us boast to have these qualities, but how many of us do? Look at Krishna's friends and associates. They don't even think of their own material pleasure. For example, the Sakhas shared their food with Krishna and really relished seeing Krishna enjoy. Me, I might just be thinking of enjoying the nice food and me thinking of enjoying it myself. I would be laminating it if I didn't get to enjoy. You are right.
Yeah, let's recollect what else we heard and see if we fit into any of the categories like equipoised in honor and dishonor, equal to heat and cold, equal to fame and infamy, free from bad association, silent and satisfied, and fixed in knowledge and engaged in devotional service?
See, we are trying to have all these qualities, but look at somebody like Prahlad who tolerated so much and had these qualities. We should aspire for that.
My dear devotee friends, I appreciate all the three of you for recollecting and summarizing the points. You all have good qualities, but actually, Krishna consciousness is not about boasting about our qualities, but to be humble and simple and still possess all the qualities mentioned. The main goal of life should be to be engaged in service to Krishna with full faith. Bhakti Yoga is stated to be the best path for self-realization in order to attain Krishna, rather than all the other bona fide paths. One who is a devotee should try to develop these qualities, but actually these come automatically as one continues to engage in Krishna conscious activities. Hari Bol. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Haribol, I really enjoyed the presentation. It was humorous, but also very informative. So, best way to learn is to laugh and learn. Thank you for it.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, so we will do an overview of the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. I'll share my screens, and I wanted to once again thank everyone for the presentations, staying within time, and doing an excellent job in organizing the thoughts. So the title of the 13th chapter is Nature, the Enjoyer, and Consciousness. So really speaking, there is no strong connection between the 13th chapter and the preceding chapter. The 12th chapter was the yoga ladder, in which Krishna concludes about glorifying Ananya Bhakti, talking about pure devotional service. And as I mentioned, from practical perspective, the 12th chapter has, till the 12th chapter, everything Krishna needs to speak has been spoken. In the last 6 chapters, so this essentially represents the Gyan Kand of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna, he in 12.7, he had made this promise to save his devotees from the path of birth and death, which essentially is synonymous to Krishna saying that I'll give you information on how to extricate yourself from this material conception. So these 6 chapters are talking mostly about the modes of material nature. Now, interestingly, if you were to categorize the verses in the Bhagavad Gita, of the 5 topics that are presented in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, Jiva, then Kal, Prakriti, and Karma, the most verses are devoted to Prakriti, to modes of material nature. And the reason is that this is what is holding the jivas back. So it's kind of like if somebody is being tied to a pole with a rope and he wants to go to some destination, then knowing more about the destination might enthuse the person to make an effort to go there. But first he has to untie himself. That's the most important thing. So you may tell the person this place is this and it's great and there is no birth and death over there and every step is a dance and every word is a song. That would increase the enthusiasm of the person, but unless the person unbinds himself, not going to be able to take the step. So which is why Krishna speaks so many verses about what is binding the conditioned jiva to the material world or the modes of material nature. So one may ask that if bhakti is the culmination of the yoga ladder, why go down the yoga ladder? And when we look at the yoga ladder, the bottom rung was nishkam karma, and then after that was gyan, and then astang, and then karma yoga, then all the way till sadhana bhakti and pure devotional service. So essentially, Krishna is taking us back to almost the bottom of the ladder again. Now, one understanding that Acharyas also give us is that all the 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita essentially talk about bhakti. The middle 6 chapters exclusively talk about bhakti. The first 6 chapters talk about how to achieve bhakti through karma. And the last 6 about how to achieve bhakti through jnana. So that is why bhakti is in the middle and it is touching both these two. So there is some amount of metaphorical visualization there, that because bhakti is touching karma, karma becomes glorious. And because bhakti is touching jnana in the last 6 chapters, jnana becomes glorious. So it is only because of the presence of bhakti that karma and jnana have real meaning. So jnana is used in helping us develop detachment. So we use knowledge as a means to attain devotion, right? So going back to our example of being tied to a pole, if one has the knowledge of how to untie themselves from the pole, then it is the first step in going to the desired destination. Right? So that is why the untying of the pole now becomes a part of the journey to the destination. And that is how Gyan, which helps the jiva free themselves from the modes so that they can execute bhakti, also becomes a part of bhakti. Right? So without a touch of bhakti, both karma and jnana are actually useless. So 35 verses in the chapter, and the first section is Arjun's inquiries. The second section is a focus on the process of knowledge. And the third section is on the Gayam, or the object of knowledge. Now, in our treatment of this chapter, I want to bring to your attention that the 13th chapter is actually one of the most commented chapter by the Acharyas. And the reason is that the 13th chapter is also widely used by the impersonalists to establish the impersonal conception. Whether it is that Krishna is impersonal or whether it is to prove that Krishna and the jiva is also Krishna. Right? Whether it is a person who, commentator who wants to establish that God is impersonal, or one who wants to establish that the jiva becomes God on liberation. The 13th chapter is a key chapter. This is also the reason why the Vaishnava Acharyas, they also comment extensively on it to negate a lot of misconceptions that are there by the other acharyas. And what the Vaishnava acharyas do is that they speak the same language. So the followers of Sripad Shankaracharya and the other Advaita philosophy, they rely a lot on the Upanishads and the Brahma Sutras to derive these incorrect understandings. And the Vaishnavacharyas do the same. They also derive a lot of the Vaishnava conclusions based on the same Brahma Sutras and the same Upanishads. Now, when we study the chapter, we will not undertake that debate. Firstly, it is beyond the scope of Bhakti Shastri. It will take a long time for us. So the debates are mostly in form of the acharyas presenting what the Advaitas talk about. They find out what is the weakness. They find out what are the references to justify the weakness, and then they present the other philosophy. Right? Some of these purports run into several pages, and they're full of references to the various Upanishads, to the Vedanta Sutras. So Prabhupada has not done it, will not do it. Sufficient for us to know that in following the guidance of Prabhupada and the Vaishnava Acharyas, we are studying it in a way that Krishna expected us to study it. Okay, moving on. So, when Krishna completed his glorification of Bhakti in the 12th chapter, then an implicit question could be, Bhakti is so sweet and potent and easy. And generally, these things don't go together. If something is very potent, it is difficult or it is bitter. But Krishna has presented Bhakti as being very, very sweet, very easy, and very powerful. Arjuna might ask, then why doesn't everybody take to it? Okay. So, what attracts the conditioned soul so much that they simply neglect this gulab jamun of bhakti? What is it that is taking their attention away? And what is its nature? So, what is the nature of that which is distracting the conditioned jiva from the sweet goal of bhakti? So Arjun's questions are, he asks 6 questions, and Arjun's questions are in this general area, that what is the source of this enjoyment? How does this enjoyment happen? And the result, what he's actually wanting to get to is how to become a devotee. Now, he does not ask this question, how to become a devotee. His questions are more in the first 2 categories. What is the kshetra? What is the field of enjoyment? What is the kshetragya? Who is the knower of the field of enjoyments? Who is Purusha? Who is enjoyer? What is Prakriti? What is the modes of material nature? And Krishna will systematically go and answer all these 6 questions. So, for the sake of conciseness, I am not doing and again, because 13th chapter is very Upanishadic-like. There's a lot of very specific terms and phrases used, so I'm not covering them here because I won't be able to do justice to them. I have covered them in some amount of details in the classes that I've given. So they are there on the, they've been uploaded on the website now. So there you can get a deeper understanding into the 6 questions and answers. But at this point, what I want to leave you with is the understanding that the intent behind this 6 questions, that Arjun is trying to understand the nature of that which prevents the jiva from making spiritual advancements. Then there is a whole section that is devoted to knowledge, that what is the object of knowledge and what is actually knowledge. So Krishna presents the object of knowledge as the interaction between these 3 things. That how does the spirit soul get trapped into a material body and get bound by material nature? So the soul is fully spiritual by nature. It has nothing to do with matter. Then how does it get trapped into this material body? Right? And in the answer, Krishna, he explains about the position of the Paramatma. So Paramatma, as you know, will be spoken about in further details in the 15th chapter. But here Krishna is speaking about the role of the Paramatma. That when the jiva enters into the material body, the Paramatma accompanies the body. So when Krishna is asked about Kshetra, then the Kshetra is the field of enjoyment, but the knower is both the jiva as well as the Paramatma. The difference being that the jiva knows something about the body that it occupies, the Paramatma knows everything about everybody. So the Paramatma is the ultimate Kshetragya. So we know a little bit about our body. Right? If we are sick, we know we are sick. We don't really know why we are sick. We have to go to a doctor and they will tell us what's wrong with us. Right? But Krishna, he has full intimate knowledge of each and every body. So ultimately, these are the 2 entities that are the answer to all the questions that Arjun asks. That who are the Kshetragyas? The Jiva and the Paramatma. Who are the Purushas? Who are the enjoyers? The Jiva and the Paramatma. The Jiva is trying to enjoy in the body that it occupies, and the Paramatma is the real enjoyer of everything. What is Gayam? What is the object of knowledge? The Jiva and the Paramatma. One should know the self and the soul, and one should understand the super soul. What is knowledge? Knowledge is understanding the relationship between the Jiva, the Paramatma, and Prakriti. Right. So that is why this is the title of the chapter: Nature, Enjoyer, and Consciousness. Right. So nature is the modes of material nature. Enjoyer is the jiva and conscious jiva and Krishna, Paramatma, and consciousness is jiva and Paramatma. So when by the mercy of Krishna, the jiva is able to free from the bindings of the material nature, they are able to go back to Godhead. So I'm going to again speak a little bit about understanding the underlying tattva. I've spoken about it, and because it's important, just want to speak about it once again. That it begins with the jiva in a conditioned state attempting to enjoy material nature. So, because the soul is unable to engage with matter, because they are of different natures, the jiva takes on a material body to enjoy the material nature. So, in this way, the jiva takes on the position of Purusha. So, Purusha, as I mentioned, means enjoyer, and attempts to enjoy Prakriti. So, material nature, which is feminine, attempts to enjoy Prakriti, and the field of enjoyment is the material body, Kshetra. So this is what is happening in this material world. That the jiva is trying to exploit the material nature in order to enjoy, and this exploitation is being done through the kshetra, or the field of activities. Now, while this is going on, there is also the other Purusha, the other enjoyer, who is the Adi Purusha. And he is also the knower of all the bodies. So he is also the possessor of all the kshetras. He is also the kshetragya. And he is enjoying everybody and everything. Not just Prakriti, but Jiva also. So understanding these two currents, one can then ascertain that the position that a conditioned soul takes is an artificial position. So many times we say that the jiva comes to the material world and pretends to be God. So this is giving a more scientific understanding of that, because essentially the jiva is doing exactly what Krishna does. Krishna is the Adi Purusha. The jiva attempts to become a Purusha. Krishna is enjoying Prakriti. The jiva tries to enjoy Prakriti. Krishna is the owner of everything. The jiva attempts to own its own body, Kshetra. Krishna is the knower of all the Kshetras. The jiva attempts to know its own body, or Kshetra. So that's why now we can see how the jiva is trying to become Krishna. So this is jnana, is understanding this distinction. And once one ascertains the position of Krishna, then automatically the self-conception of the enjoyer or independent enjoyer gets dismantled. And it's replaced by the position of being the servant of Krishna. So again, this is a repetition. Krishna has been talking about how to reach into the path of bhakti. And even though spiritual engagement is potent to overcome material entanglement, not everyone has that potency, right? So this is one of the topics of debate, that doesn't the last 6th chapter diminish the potency of bhakti? So if we say that bhakti is supremely independent, like anabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavratam, right? It is independent of jnana and karma. Why does Krishna present jnana and karma in Bhagavad Gita? If bhakti is not predicated on them. So it's similar to when devotees take initiation, they're asked to chant 16 rounds, which is an anga of bhakti. and they're also asked to follow the 4 regulative principles, which essentially is a safeguard from performing materially sinful activities. And one might say that bhakti is not dependent on material activities, but for neophyte devotees, for devotees who are still struggling to disengage from the material conception, it's a catalyst. It elevates one to piety and helps in the execution of devotional service. So this is exactly the same reason why Krishna is presenting karma and jnana, so that aspiring devotees, while they are making progress in their devotion, also are less encumbered by the baggage of karma and jnana. So Arjun is practical, so he understands, and therefore he is talking about both. He's saying that you have talked about the potency of spiritual engagement. Now tell me about material disengagement. So the section 2, and I put this in the end because it kind of brings, so the first and the third parts are philosophical, they have a continuity in them. There's a philosophical continuity. The second is essentially the process of knowledge, and Krishna presents it for a couple of reasons. So in verses 8 to 12, he presents 20 items of knowledge, and they're more like qualities. If you see those quality like steadiness, non-violence, absence of false egos, they're more like qualities. And the understanding is that one uses these in 2 ways. One aspires to cultivate these qualities, and the second is for a devotee who's practicing bhakti, these qualities manifest on their own. So the qualities serve as a barometer of one's devotional advancement. So as one becomes more fixed in their bhakti, then things like humility, pridelessness, cleanliness, even-minded, they manifest on their own. So if devotees are to ask themselves, am I making progress? So in itself, bhakti may be difficult to quantify, but they can examine themselves or with the help of their, under the guidance of the guru, and they can say that, am I in a better position with respect to this qualities? Do I have detachment from the general masses? Do I aspire to live in a solitary place? Right now, again, these qualities are not switches that turn on and off, but they're on a spectrum that goes from one end to another. And as these qualities become stronger, one can ascertain their devotional advancement. And of the 20 qualities, as I mentioned, that 19 are in the category of karma and jnana, and 1 is in the category of bhakti, which is constant and unalloyed devotion. And Prabhupada makes this statement that this 1 quality is sufficient. All the 19 other qualities manifest from this 1 quality. So summary, Arjun will ask Krishna 6 questions, trying to understand why everyone does not take to bhakti. Krishna answers analytically, explaining the nature of entanglement of the soul in the material world. The entanglement happens when the jiva, looking to enjoy separately from Krishna, accepts a body, and out of his mercy, Krishna accompanies the jiva as Paramatma, as the supreme knower and the enjoyer. The real purpose is to understand how all this works to disentangle from it. So Krishna explains how to understand this. By the cultivation of these conducive qualities, one can ascertain their manifest the desires to make progress or ascertain their progress. And the most important quality is bhakti. Okay, so with this, I will conclude my presentation, and I just hope I have left some time for discussion. We have 10 minutes. So open to any thoughts, comments, or discussions. Yes, Rup Raghunath.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. Thank you for a very nice presentation. I just thought while devotees are thinking of their questions, I can ask something that was going on in my mind. So Prabhuji, as you said, the real purpose is to unentangle our material life through cultivating these qualities and practicing bhakti yoga. But the fact of the matter is, we are in this very convoluted um, material life with jobs and families. So as we are elevating our spiritual quotient, which definitely brings the material um, entanglement less complex, but does it always does it also, Prabhuji, sort of play a role in your growth in the material life? Because um, with the soft qualities, once you become soft, I think it's difficult to operate at a higher level in the material world, especially in the corporate world, Prabhuji. So I'm just thinking out loud. It was just going through my mind as you were presenting the class. I don't know if I'm asking the question correctly or not, but I hope you get the gist of what I'm trying to ask. Does
Maybe
the
I
and
can.
all these qualities, do they make us sort of less, I won't say potent, but less effective in the material growth? Or we should not, or maybe we should not even look for over endeavorness in the material world, so it's for good. So there's a debate going on in my mind that I want to hear a little bit from you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Nice question. So, does spiritual advancement make one materially unsuccessful? Couple of ways to understand it. I think the phrase that you use is telling. I think there's the answer embedded in it. You use the phrase material conception a few times, and essentially that's what it is. There's nothing that is really material. It is the conception that is material. They seeing something separate from Krishna, whether it's our job or family or our car or success or whatever it is. Seeing it separate from Krishna, that's what makes it material. Prabhupada, that's why he used this phrase, material conception, to accurately reflect that, because we know there's nothing separate from Krishna, right? The only thing that is separate from Krishna is our desire to enjoy separately from him. So Prabhupada would encourage his disciples to succeed materially. Like he would say, become judges, become senior government officers, become wealthy. Some of his disciples did uh, go on to become very wealthy, take on influential positions, and continue to serve Prabhupada in that way. The two do not negate one another. In fact, having a spiritual armor, it protects one from a lot of things that are potential downfalls or pitfalls in the material conception. The second part is that, and you also talked about it, is that devotees may not prioritize it. They may say that I have 24 hours a day, I can do either X or Y, and X is more important than Y, right? If there's a job that, and all of us have gone through it. I know I personally went through this earlier on in my Krishna consciousness, where we deliberately took this decision of trying to strike a balance. that you have a family, you need to take care of the family, you need to have some modicum of financial security, do whatever is needed. But um, um, does it make sense to spend every waking hours in a single-minded pursuit of either making more money or progressing materially? The devotees make that distinction, and they come up with a with some kind of a balance there. So that too is also important, that while we do not have, or while we are developing that vision of seeing everything along with Krishna, we protect ourselves so that we are able to develop that vision. There's this famous story of Srila Prabhupada. He was once shown a newspaper cutting in which there was a sannyasi, and he was being offered a plate full of money. And the sannyasi had his hands behind his back. And the caption read something like, he has no interest in money. So Prabhupada looked at it and laughed, and he said, if somebody gave me a plate full of money, I would take it all and use it for preaching. And so that was Prabhupada's mood. We're not at that level, but we are aspiring to follow his footsteps.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. This is really helpful, especially the example of Prabhupada, that how he used bhakti as an armor to build so many temples for us. Otherwise, it was not so easy if we just go by our potency. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Vijaya, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I have just a quick question. You're talking about Jiva. Is Jiva soul too, or what's the difference or similarities between
It's
Jiva
generally it's generally synonymously used with soul. Contextually, you'll see Jiva is generally used for the conditioned soul. Right. But yeah, but it's synonymously used with soul. Jivatma, right? It's the spirit soul.
That's what I thought. But from the lecture, especially today's lecture and your classes, I just thought, like you said, maybe a conditioned soul, a little bit more to it than just the soul. That's why I was just,
Yeah, you're right. Contextually, Jiva is often used as conditioned soul.
Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Neelamani Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please my humble obeisance. Dhanavad. Prabhuji, when we introspect and we see as a grasta that we are, as you also said, that there are so many activities we are involved with. And at the same time, we are also following the path of bhakti. So we see that intensity is not that much as it should have been, or when we hear. What is that point, Prabhuji, that we keep a track or keep a focus on that intensity part, where we say, okay, there's no competition, but I am on the right progressive path.
Thank you, Prabhu. So Rampal Maharaj once gives this example that if you need money, you will go to somebody who is wealthy. So if you want to grow your bhakti, you should go with somebody who has bhakti. So if you are experiencing unsteadiness, or if you are steady but want to go deeper into it, the most potent way is to associate with those who have who are also walking the path and are maybe slightly a little ahead of us. Right? They say association has three qualities. So it is Svajati, means that with people with similar, like same parampara, similar conception there. Not to say that the other paramparas are bad, but the nature of association is that you'd like to associate with similar, because there are difference in details. So it is swajati. It is with uh, with people who are also with a similar conception. So even within the same parampara, people may be practicing bhakti in slightly different ways. There may be somebody who derives a lot of pleasure from book distribution. Somebody may love deity worship. Somebody may love reading Shastras. So one associates with one that are like-minded. And the third is the person is more advanced than you. And actually what it says is slightly more advanced than you. Because if you associate with somebody who is a lot more advanced, then it becomes difficult. So if you associate with your Guru Maharaj, the advancement is, so the inspiration might be there, but after some time it becomes very exhausting. One of the things that Srila Prabhupada did was, so he would have a personal servant who would be basically 24/7 with him, but he made sure that they did not stay with him for more than 6 months, because he understood that it would be very exhausting for them. Right. So main advantage is when you associate with somebody who is a little bit more advanced. So they can relate to you, you can relate to them. They're not that far out that you say, okay, Prabhu, all glories to you, and that's it, right? You can say, okay, this Prabhu is doing what I do and doing 10% more, so maybe I can go to the stretch zone. And in this way, by constant association, one can maintain that spark, that intensity.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this wonderful explanation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, Shefali Mataji, last question.
Haribol Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams. I just, when Rupa Raghunath Prabhu was asking his question and he used the word soft, like you might be perceived as soft in the corporate world if, as you advance as a devotee. And it just reminded me of the story of the devotee cobra snake and Narad Muni. So I just wanted to say that it just reminded me of that. So it looks like Rupa Raghunath Prabhu remembers that story from the way from his smile. So yeah, so that was it.
And very appropriate, right? So we can be internally soft, but have a little bit of a hard shell to protect ourselves. Okay, so we will end over here, and next week. Radhakrishna Prabhu, you have a comment or a question?
I just had a small question, Prabhu, in continuation to the questions asked so far. I mean, just wanted to, get your insights on. Normally, in the path of bhakti, we focus. I mean, at least I can speak for myself. We focus more on the how and the what, but the why did in the first place we come on the path of bhakti, and why the why is very important. I mean, because there were conversations on intensity, so I just wanted to ask, what are your thoughts on the why for the bhakti? Because many a times as devotee I get destabilized, or my intensity is not the same on the path of bhakti. Sometimes life takes the first, I mean, other priorities take a front seat, and then a few weeks or a few months later we come back to the same intensity, but at the same time it is the why that keeps going. So I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on why, and what is it that a devotee should focus on which can improve his why, and in the way, I mean, I don't want to influence the answer, but I hope you get the gist of my question.
So to a great extent, one of the distinguishing characteristics of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, specifically ISKCON Gaudiya Vaishnavism, is the focus on why. That's what attracted me, because in a lot of practices, and I grew up in such a family where there was a lot of focus on just do it. Like we did it, and the pious activities, obviously, but mostly, why should I do it? Just do it, right? And that's something that some people take comfort in, but a lot of people don't. There's a lot of conviction that comes when the why is also answered. So Srila Prabhupada was a very strong believer, following the footsteps of his Guru Maharaj and the Parampara in explaining the why. The books of Prabhupada are windows into that why. That why are you in this material world? Why do you need to get out of it? Why do you chant? Why do you follow the regulative principles? Like Prabhupada very rarely asked his disciples to do anything without clearly explaining to them, either through lectures or through his writings, as to why he is asking them to do that. It's the why that builds the conviction in the face of our fickle mind. Because if we were just Prabhupada in the third chapter, like he makes this point that if one does something, if one knows something and does not act upon it, then it's mental speculation. And if one does something but does not know why they're doing it, then it's just superstition or rituals. So the right combination is that know what needs to be done and then do it. Right? So I think it was Radhanath Maharaj who made this statement that by reading Prabhupada's books, we know what needs to be done. And by associating with devotees, we are able to do it. So the two go hand in hand.
Thank you.
Does
so
that
much.
help, Prabhu?
Yeah, that deeply helps. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll end over here. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितनाम पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय।
जय
प्रभुपाद की जय।
जय
श्री भगवद गीता जयंती की जय। By Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.